Hey everyone. So this is my first attempt at making a voiceover video, so hopefully this works out. As you can see, today I am painting this miniature portrait of a dog. I am going to offer for a limited time in the month of May 2021 only these custom mini portraits for only $50 plus shipping. So it'll be like first come, first serve, and I'll obviously have a limited number that I'll be able to complete. So please reach out to me as soon as possible if you are interested. And then, this one is a 6x6 inch, so it's pretty small. But I could also do a 5x7 on a canvas board for the same price. My other regular portrait pricing is posted on my website, which I will link in the description below. This is actually a portrait of a friend I met on a Facebook group's dog. And she posts pictures of her all the time. She's so photogenic and she's so cute. And this is like a pet portrait painter's dream reference photo, honestly. I mean, reference photos are kind of everything, by the way, when you're a portrait artist. Like, you want a good angle, good lighting, a clear image. I mean, the better the reference photo, the better your portrait's gonna look, The best reference photos are always high resolution and outdoor, like natural lighting from maybe an interesting angle from above or below, or generally also if it's a person, it turns out better if they're not actually smiling and facing the camera. So more like a candid shot. Like often those are the images that will capture a person's likeness the best. So, like obviously like somebody just standing there like looking at a camera and smiling, sometimes that doesn't even look like that person, like you're like, oh my gosh, that doesn't even look like you, but that's because maybe that's not a face that they make often. But honestly, like it's not really the same for pets. Like the rules for pet portraits are kind of the opposite though, because those will come out the best when they're actually looking directly at the camera, because that's how we view our pets, like looking right at our face and loving us and wanting something from us, or, needing us to care for them, or just telling us how much they like us, or whatever it is, like that's how we see our pets. So like a good pet portrait a lot of times is facing the camera, or even just doing something funny or something cute, as long as it's a good picture, like a high resolution, very clear image. That's really important for the best likeness. Anyways, I chose this photo because it's super cute. It was a really good picture, good lighting and everything. And she's just like had the most expressive face. She's like really distinct features. And I'm really loving like adding all these extra colors to my paintings lately. And like even though they're kind of realistic paintings, they're not like hyper realistic or anything. But adding the extra color kind of brings this like energy to my paintings, and like it makes it feel like alive and just bright and fun and just happy, and I just like it a lot. So the formula I tend to like go with is I'll add cool shades to like the shadows and the darks, and then I'll add like warm tones to the highlights. So like oranges and yellows and stuff like that, and then blues and purples in the shadows, and kind of like mid-tones or sort of like muted versions, or neutralized shades, which would be like if you mix in complementary colors together, ones that are opposite from each other on the color wheel, like blue and orange, red and green, purple and yellow, etc. So there's my color theory lesson for the day. Anyway, so that makes those kind of like muted colors in between. And it's nice, but since I'm using like acrylic paint this time, so it is acrylic paint instead of what I, recently kind of been gravitating toward watercolor. I've been doing a lot of watercolor painting lately, which I never had really done a lot of in the past, but I've really been getting into it this year. But instead of with watercolor, you would typically start with masking out where your lights are going to be, where your highlights are going to be, so you don't paint over those, because once you paint over those with watercolor, you can't get them back. But with acrylic paint and oil paint for that matter, you can layer parts of them together. So you can layer the whites on top of the darks, because they're opaque, and they stick on top of each other. So you don't have to worry about that. And so I kind of like went in with the darks first. I like to lay down my shadows, and then I kind of build in the midtones, and then like sort of go over it with the highlights. And you can see, you know, like stages like this, where this is like the ugly stage of the painting. So like, you know, every painting's got an ugly stage. This is where it's ugly. It just looks, you know, like a mess. Looks like a muddy mess, but it's because it doesn't have like my really dark shadows in it. It doesn't have my really bright highlights in it. But when I start adding the highlights, that's when it sort of comes to life. So those highlights are sort of like the end result, and it brings it all to life. You can see like the eyes are still really dark right now, but once I put in those little tiny highlights in the eyes, it'll really, really pop, and she'll just kind of come to life, and she'll start looking like she has a personality. And it's really just a couple little dots, and you'll see what a difference it makes, just, you know, having those little highlights in there. So it's really fun. I like to wait to the end to finish the eyes sometimes, just because like I feel like that's the like, ooh, here's the masterpiece come to life, you know, the eyes. A lot of artists start with the eyes, like they build the face around the eyes, which is not a bad way to go either. You know, I've done it that way too before, but sometimes like doing the eyes last like makes it's like an exciting thing to look forward to. I don't know. So yeah, so here's like, you know, adding in the little darks, the extra shadows, the really dark shadows, the blacks, and then I'll go back in with the little highlights and stuff. So yeah, but yeah, so I mean, with acrylic paints, you know, this is the way that I would go, you know, like adding in those highlights last. And the oil paint, you can do the kind of the same thing. And you can see, like, I like to sort of mix my paint as I go. You know, I like to blend it together on my surface, not necessarily like mixing the colors and then painting them on, but I mix them together, you know, as I paint. And it's nice because the acrylic paint does dry fast, but not like super fast. Like usually you have enough time to at least blend some colors together to get like a nice transition. You know, like it's not going to be like super smooth as if it was oil paint. You can get it that way if you have the right mediums and stuff you can mix with the acrylics, but I'm just using some really, you know, affordable acrylic paint. You can get it from any craft store. It's not like artist grade acrylic paint or anything, but it does the trick. You know, it gets the job done. It looks really good, I think. So, you know, it's not necessarily about the paints that you have or the tools that you have. As long as you have the patience to work with what you've got, you know, you can make it work. So, yeah, I mean, like with oil paint, you know, it's nice because they do stay wet longer. But here you can see where I'm adding in those highlights on her eyes, and she sort of just like comes to life with just a couple little dots. And there she is. Oh, look at, there's her eyes. Now she's got a personality. Anyway, so yeah, I mean, with the oil paint, you know, like if you don't wait long enough for the paint layers to dry, then you just get muddy messes if you try to add light colors on top of dark sometimes. So you have to be careful that way. You know, you can't always paint that way with oil paints just because they don't dry fast enough. Like sometimes it takes days or weeks for them to dry to layer on top of each other. But so yeah, this one is just acrylic paint that I got from the craft store. Nothing super fancy, nothing super expensive. I think the oil paints that I have are still ones that I've had since college. They're really old. They still work. But I just don't paint that often with oils. But I will be. I will be definitely doing more of that. But anyway, yeah, I mean, like this, this has been kind of an adventure, you know, like, I have these deadlines that I want to meet, but I set them in my own, you know, at my own pace, and it's hard for me to decide what my priorities should be. I always have been one to like need a to-do list at all times, and having to structure my own times, you know, kind of hard. I mean, not knowing how much time things are going to take me, I get sucked into time warps when I make art. So I think it's been like 30 minutes, and really I've been painting for like 4 hours. So, you know, and I like to make lists. I like to make sure that I'm getting everything done, but you know, I'll make the same list 4 or 5 times because I'll forget to add something and I want it to be in chronological order. Is that OCD? Anyway, you know, yeah, I mean, like, it's been an adventure, and I'm learning. I mean, I always said that I wanted to be the kind of person, I wanted to be a person who was able to go to school. Like, if I could just go to school all the time for the rest of my life, I would just do that. And that's kind of what I'm doing right now. Honestly, like, I'm not in school, you know, I'm not going anywhere, but I am like learning stuff every day, teaching myself, you know, like watching tutorials, trying to get better, trying to improve my skills, you know, like learning from people on the internet, trying to do it for free though. And also, you know, I mean, just trying to improve my art, improve my skills, improve my business knowledge, improve my, you know, like the tools that I have available to me, and just try to utilize everything that I've got. It's hard work, but you know, like I said it before, I've been doing stuff that was hard way before this, and I wasn't even enjoying it. So I might as well do something I enjoy and make it hard work. So, I mean, I do feel about 100 times better after I left my job, but yeah, it's like self-imposed stress. Anyway. So, I mean, like, we're getting towards the end of this painting. You know, like, I decided to paint in the background after the foreground, but you can, you know, obviously paint the background first because acrylic paint is opaque. I just didn't want to cover up my sketch that I did, so I sketched it out already. And then I painted the edges too. I just like to paint the edges because that way, if you want to hang it up without framing it, it still looks finished. And this is kind of a cheap canvas. It doesn't have, you know, the finished edges. It's got staples, but you could still, it still looks nice if you hang it up that way. I don't think it looks bad. And at the end, you'll kind of see I added a couple fine lines in for like the whiskers using a gel pen, like a white gel pen, and a waterproof fine liner, a black one. It's so much easier than using a paintbrush. And there's no such thing as cheating, guys, when it comes to making art. If somebody says you're cheating because you're using a tool that makes it easier, and they're trying to tell you that you're not really doing it right because, you know, I used a gel pen instead of a tiny, tiny paintbrush, ridiculous. The only real cheating when it comes to art is if you steal someone else's work and you call it your own. Don't give anybody credit for what they did, you know, that would be cheating. That would be like the only thing I could consider cheating. You know, like digital art is not cheating. Digital art is just, it takes just as much skill. It is freaking hard, you guys. Like, I'm trying to learn how to use like the new like digital art programs and stuff. Like, I haven't used digital art since like Photoshop 5. I mean, like, what is that, 15, 20 years ago? I don't even know. Old AF, guys. Super old. But, you know, I'm trying to learn Procreate. I'm trying to learn how to do some digital art. I think it'll be useful. So, but anyways, I still love my traditional art. So here's my painting. Thank you guys so much for watching. Let me know if you like this video. You know, if you want to watch something else, let me know in the comments below. Otherwise, check out my website and let me know if you're interested in ordering one of these custom portraits. Thanks for watching, guys.